These once cutting-edge tools shaped how people cooked, cleaned, and lived. From iceboxes to coal stoves, these fascinating inventions defined daily life before fading into history. Let's explore them. Mangle wringer washers. Imagine it's the early 1900s and laundry day is a full-body workout. The Mangle wringer washer was a household marvel, sparing families from scrubbing clothes on a washboard. Combining a washing drum with two hand-cranked rollers, it made wringing water out of clothes less arduous. Yet, these machines demanded effort, patience, and a healthy respect for their dangers. Fingers often got caught in the rollers, a painful reminder of the risks of innovation. The bulky design made it hard to move, and operating it was no easy feat. Laundry day became an event, often involving the whole family. Children sometimes helped crank the handle, turning a chore into a shared activity. For women, who were usually tasked with laundry, the Mangle washer was a step forward in easing the relentless demands of housekeeping. Do you remember stories of older relatives using these machines? Imagine how it felt to finally own an automatic washer. It must have seemed like magic in comparison. Iceboxes. Picture a time when icemen delivered massive blocks of ice to homes, a ritual essential for food preservation before refrigerators existed. Iceboxes were the unsung heroes of kitchens from the late 19th to early 20th centuries. These wooden cabinets, lined with tin or metal, kept perishables like milk and butter fresh. Cold air from the ice circulated downward, chilling the stored food, but maintaining an icebox wasn't without challenges. The daily melting of ice meant families had to replace blocks frequently, and forgetting to empty the drip tray could lead to messy spills. Children often loved seeing the Iceman arrive, watching him hoist the heavy ice block into place. By the 1930s, electric refrigerators revolutionized food storage, making iceboxes obsolete. Do you recall grandparents mentioning these relics? Imagine the excitement of transitioning to an electric fridge. No more melted messes or rushing to find the Iceman before food spoiled. Vacuum coffee makers. Brewing coffee once felt like conducting a science experiment. Vacuum coffee makers, popular in the early to mid-20th century, used vapor pressure to create a rich, flavorful brew. As water in the lower chamber heated, it was forced up into the upper chamber to mix with coffee grounds. Once removed from the heat, a vacuum pulled the brewed coffee back down, leaving the grounds behind. The bubbling, swirling water and aromatic steam made the process mesmerizing, a ritual as satisfying as the coffee itself. Though the resulting coffee was smooth and clean, these devices weren't without their downsides. Fragile glass chambers required careful handling, and cleaning them was a chore. By the 1950s, the rise of electric drip coffee makers spelled the end for vacuum brewers in most homes. Have you ever seen one of these in action? Perhaps an antique collector in the family owned one? It's easy to imagine how magical this brewing process felt in its heyday, captivating coffee lovers worldwide. Butter churn. Imagine a time when butter didn't come neatly packaged from the supermarket. For families in the 19th and early 20th centuries, making butter was a weekly ritual. Cream was poured into a churn and agitated, either by hand crank or plunger, until golden butter separated from the liquid. The process was both physical and sensory. The sloshing sound of cream slowly thickening, the resistance of the churn as butter formed, and the reward of fresh, homemade butter made the hard work worthwhile. Butter churning wasn't just a chore, it was a shared family activity. Children often took turns working the churn, learning patience and self-reliance in the process. The finished butter symbolized effort and teamwork, a staple for meals and baking. By the mid-20th century, industrial dairy production rendered these churns obsolete. Yet they remain a nostalgic icon of a self-sufficient lifestyle. Do you know anyone who still makes butter at home? Imagine the pride families felt churning their own. And while butter churns brought satisfaction to the kitchen, other devices brought convenience and polish to daily life, like the sleek and practical shoe buffers. Shoe buffers. In the mid-20th century, polished shoes were more than fashion. They reflected one's character and professionalism. Enter the motorized shoe buffer, a household marvel that brought the expertise of street-side shoe shiners into the home. With rotating brushes and built-in polish dispensers, these gadgets made maintaining leather shoes both convenient and satisfying. Using a shoe buffer felt like a professional experience. In seconds, scuffed leather transformed into gleaming footwear, perfect for formal events or work. Some high-end models even offered automatic polish application, adding an extra touch of luxury. Families proudly displayed these compact machines in their homes, keeping appearances sharp and respectable. However, as casual footwear gained popularity in the late 20th century, the demand for shoe buffers dwindled. Modern quick-fix shoe care products further replaced the once prized appliances. Have you ever used one of these? They remind us of an era when polished shoes weren't just practical, they were essential. Roller toaster ovens. In the mid-20th century, roller toaster ovens were the talk of the kitchen. Unlike pop-up toasters, these quirky gadgets used a conveyor belt to glide bread through heated elements, delivering perfectly toasted slices on the other side. Watching bread roll along the conveyor belt was oddly satisfying and made breakfast preparation feel futuristic. These appliances weren't just for homes, they were a favorite in diners and cafes, where speed and consistency were essential. The mesmerizing process and evenly toasted results made them a hit with families and businesses alike. Bagels, buns, and bread slices all got the royal treatment, emerging golden brown and ready to enjoy. However, simpler pop-up toasters eventually overtook roller ovens in popularity. Despite their decline, roller toasters are still found in commercial kitchens and cherished for their nostalgic charm. Have you ever seen one of these in action? And if you think quirky appliances like these are fascinating, just wait. Some gadgets brought style, precision, and even a touch of luxury to everyday life. Let's explore more forgotten treasures that once defined entire eras. Ironing stoves. Picture a quiet Sunday afternoon in the early 1900s, sunlight streaming through the windows as a family prepares for the week ahead. On the kitchen table, freshly washed clothes are stacked neatly, ready to be ironed. In the corner, an ironing stove radiates gentle warmth, heating several heavy flat irons placed directly on its surface. Each iron, made of cast iron, holds the promise of crisp, wrinkle-free clothes, but only if handled with care. The process was meticulous, one iron cooling as another heated up, while someone sprinkled water onto fabric to create steam. The task demanded patience and focus, as ironing with the wrong temperature could ruin delicate garments. Children often sat nearby, mesmerized by the glow of the coals and the rhythmic press of iron on fabric, learning the value of diligence from watching their parents. By the early 20th century, electric irons replaced these stoves, but their legacy endures. Have you ever heard stories of family members perfecting this labor of love? Coal-fired stoves. Imagine a kitchen where warmth and meals came from a single source, the coal-fired stove. These cast-iron appliances, central to homes in the 19th and early 20th centuries, served a dual purpose. They cooked hearty meals while heating the home during cold winters. Managing one required a practiced touch, adding coal, adjusting airflow, and monitoring the fire for consistent heat was a skill learned over time. Cooking on a coal-fired stove wasn't just about technique, it was a communal activity. Families gathered around its warmth, sharing stories as meals simmered. From baking bread to frying eggs, every task revolved around this kitchen centerpiece. As gas and electric ranges became standard in the mid-20th century, coal stoves faded into history, leaving behind memories of resilience and practicality. Today, they're cherished as antiques, evoking nostalgia for a time when the stove was truly the heart of the home. Manual ice crushers. Before the hum of electric blenders, parties and summer treats depended on manual ice crushers. These hand-cranked devices were a staple in mid-20th century kitchens, especially for making cocktails, snow cones, and chilled desserts. Operating one was a tactile experience. Ice cubes were loaded into the top, and turning the crank crushed them into small, frosty pieces. Often designed with decorative flair, manual ice crushers added a stylish touch to the kitchen or bar. They were as much conversation pieces as they were practical tools, creating a sense of occasion during gatherings. The effort required to crush ice lent an air of craftsmanship to hosting. As electric alternatives became affordable and efficient, manual crushers fell out of favor. Yet, they remain a nostalgic icon of hands-on entertaining. Imagine the satisfaction of hearing the crunch of ice transforming under your efforts, a sound that signaled refreshing drinks and cheerful company. Electric shoe dryers. Imagine coming home on a rainy day, your shoes soaked and cold. In the mid-20th century, electric shoe dryers were a game-changer for households dealing with wet footwear. These small appliances emitted warm air through vents or hoses placed inside shoes, drying them in just a few hours. Families in rainy or snowy climates relied on these gadgets to keep feet warm and comfortable. especially during harsh winters. Children would eagerly check the dryer, hoping their favorite shoes were ready for the next adventure. Beyond comfort, these dryers also helped prevent odors and bacteria, making them both practical and hygienic. Compact and easy to use, they became a staple in many homes. However, as shoe materials improved and water-resistant designs became common, the need for electric shoe dryers declined. Still, for those who used them, they're a nostalgic reminder of the comforting warmth they brought on a cold, wet day. And while some devices added warmth and practicality to daily life, others brought creativity and charm to the kitchen, like the versatile waffle irons with detachable plates. Waffle irons with detachable plates. Weekend mornings in the early 20th century often started with the smell of batter sizzling on a stovetop waffle iron. These durable irons featured detachable plates that made cleaning a breeze and produced intricately patterned waffles that felt as much like art as breakfast. To use, cooks would pour the batter, close the iron, and flip it over a flame to ensure even cooking on both sides. Many families cherished these versatile appliances, which often doubled as grills for sandwiches or flatbreads. Their design made them a favorite not just in homes, but also during camping trips or outdoor gatherings. As electric waffle makers grew popular in the mid-20th century, stovetop versions gradually fell out of favor. Yet they remain beloved by collectors and vintage enthusiasts who appreciate their simplicity and charm. Can you imagine gathering around the stove, flipping waffles by hand, and sharing the joy of a homemade breakfast? Electric carpet sweepers. Before the roar of modern vacuums, many households relied on electric carpet sweepers to keep their floors tidy. These compact devices were quieter and more affordable than early vacuums, making them a popular choice in the early 20th century. Powered by a small motor, rotating brushes swept up dirt and debris from rugs and carpets with surprising efficiency. Electric carpet sweepers were lightweight and easy to maneuver, making them ideal for quick, everyday cleaning. Detachable dust trays allowed for simple emptying, further enhancing their convenience. Families appreciated their ability to maintain clean floors without the noise or bulk of larger machines. As vacuum technology advanced in the 1950s and 60s, offering deeper cleaning power, carpet sweepers became less practical. However, they remain a nostalgic symbol of a simpler time in home care. These sweepers, like so many forgotten appliances, remind us of a time when innovation transformed everyday life. And there's so much more to uncover. What other ingenious devices have we left behind? Let's continue exploring. Meat safes. Before electric refrigeration became the norm, meat safes were essential kitchen tools for preserving perishables. These cabinets, typically made of wood or metal, featured perforated panels or fine mesh linings to allow airflow while keeping insects and pests out. Often placed in shaded or breezy spots, they relied on natural ventilation to slow spoilage, making them invaluable in warm climates or rural areas. Meat safes weren't limited to just storing meat. They also held cheeses, fruits, and other perishables. Some models were elevated on legs to prevent animals from accessing the contents, while others included decorative designs, doubling as functional kitchen furniture. Maintaining a meat safe required vigilance. Cleaning was critical to prevent odors and contamination, and placement mattered to maximize cooling effects. As electric refrigerators gained popularity in the early 20th century, meat safes gradually disappeared from everyday use. Today, they're prized as rustic antiques, admired for their ingenuity and craftsmanship in an era of resourceful living. Hand-cranked food processors. Before the hum of electric blenders and food processors, kitchens were powered by hand. Hand-cranked food processors were versatile tools that could chop, mix, grind, and puree with manual effort. These devices typically consisted of a sturdy bowl, sharp rotating blades, and a hand crank that activated the mechanism. From dicing vegetables for stews to grinding nuts for desserts, these processors handled a variety of tasks, often coming with interchangeable blades for specialized uses. Though labor-intensive, they were reliable and durable, often passed down through generations as trusted kitchen companions. Their compact size and lack of reliance on electricity made them ideal for picnics, camping, or homes without access to power. By the mid-20th century, electric appliances rendered hand-cranked processors obsolete. Yet, their legacy endures as a symbol of craftsmanship in cooking, a time when every meal carried the tangible effort of hands-on preparation. Rotary phones. The rotary phone was more than just a communication device. It was an experience. Popular throughout the mid-20th century, these phones featured a circular dial with numbered slots. Each call required the user to carefully rotate the dial for each digit, creating a tactile, deliberate connection with the process. The satisfying click of the mechanism added to the ritual, making every call feel meaningful. Constructed from heavy materials, rotary phones were built to last. Their design, often with a sleek finish and a coiled cord, became iconic in homes, offices, and even public phone booths. Rotary phones were symbols of modernity in their time, bringing people closer together with technology that was both functional and elegant. By the 1980s, push-button phones and digital systems began replacing rotary models, offering faster dialing and greater convenience. However, the rotary phone's design and tactile charm endure as nostalgic relics of a slower, more intentional era of communication. Wood-fired water heaters. Before the convenience of electric and gas water heaters, wood-fired water heaters were the go-to solution for providing hot water in homes. These robust appliances featured a metal tank perched above a firebox, where wood was burned to heat the water. They served dual purposes, not only warming water for bathing, cleaning, and laundry, but also acting as a supplementary heat source during cold winter months. Operating one required careful attention. Users needed to gather firewood, maintain the flame, and monitor the temperature to prevent overheating or running out of fuel. While reliable, these heaters were labor-intensive and posed safety risks, such as burns or house fires if not handled properly. By the mid-20th century, advancements in technology introduced electric and gas water heaters that offered on-demand hot water with minimal effort. As wood-fired models became obsolete, they were relegated to rural or rustic settings. But even as these water heaters faded away, portable and stylish radiant room heaters have emerged to bring warmth and comfort into homes in a whole new way. Radiant room heaters. Before central heating became commonplace, radiant room heaters provided cozy warmth during chilly winters. These compact devices featured glowing coils or ceramic plates that emitted heat, creating an inviting and concentrated warmth ideal for small spaces. Radiant heaters were as functional as they were stylish, with designs often reflecting the Art Deco or mid-century aesthetics of their time. Portable and easy to use, these heaters became a household staple, especially for families who couldn't afford to heat an entire house. Many evenings were spent gathered around the heater, reading, playing games, or simply enjoying its comforting glow. However, their exposed heating elements posed significant risks, including fire hazards and burns, particularly if left unattended or placed too close to flammable materials. As central heating systems and safer alternatives emerged in the mid-20th century, radiant heaters fell out of favor. Today, they are cherished as vintage decor pieces, evoking nostalgia for a time when warmth came from glowing coils and close-knit gatherings. Percolators. The bubbling sound of a percolator was once a familiar morning ritual, signaling the arrival of a fresh, aromatic cup of coffee. These classic coffee makers, popular before drip coffee machines, worked by cycling boiling water through coffee grounds. As the water repeatedly passed through the grounds, it created a bold, rich flavor that delighted coffee enthusiasts. Percolators were as much about the experience as the coffee itself. The transparent knob on the lid allowed users to watch the brewing process unfold, adding a sense of anticipation to the ritual. However, brewing required careful attention. Too much percolation could lead to an overly bitter taste, making the process both an art and a science. By the 1970s, the rise of drip coffee makers and single-serve machines offered greater convenience, leading to a decline in percolator use. Yet, their charm endures, celebrated by those who appreciate their strong brew and nostalgic ambiance. And while coffee-making rituals shaped morning routines, other innovations like hooded hairdryers redefined convenience and luxury and self-care. In the 1950s and 60s, hooded hairdryers became a symbol of luxury and convenience, bringing salon-quality hair care into the home. These dome-shaped devices consisted of a hood connected to a base unit that emitted warm air, drying hair evenly and efficiently. Perfect for setting elaborate hairstyles like bouffants and curls, they allowed users to sit comfortably while leaving their hands free for other activities like reading or knitting. Using a hooded dryer was a soothing and time-consuming ritual, often associated with self-care and leisure. Many women cherished the experience, treating it as a moment of indulgence. The devices were especially popular among those who styled their hair with rollers or needed to set intricate designs that required consistent heat. As handheld hair dryers became more practical and affordable in the 1970s, hooded models gradually faded from mainstream use. However, they remain iconic among vintage beauty enthusiasts and professionals who appreciate their retro charm and effectiveness for specific styles. Vacuum tube radios. Vacuum tube radios were the pinnacle of home entertainment in the early to mid-20th century. These large, beautifully crafted devices were often made of wood with intricate designs, blending functionality with elegance. Using vacuum tube technology, they produced warm, rich sound quality that many argue remains unmatched by modern digital systems. These radios brought families together, becoming a focal point in living rooms for listening to news, music, and dramatic broadcasts. The soft glow of the vacuum tubes added a magical ambiance, heightening the experience of events like Roosevelt's fireside chats or thrilling radio plays. Despite their popularity, vacuum tube radios began to decline in the 1950s and 60s as transistor technology made radios smaller, cheaper, and portable. Today, they are prized by collectors and enthusiasts who appreciate their craftsmanship, nostalgic charm, and unparalleled audio warmth, a reminder of a time when radio was the heart of family entertainment. Glass butter molds. Before butter came in uniform, store-bought sticks or tubs, glass butter molds were a common household tool for shaping freshly churned butter. These molds, often intricately designed, allowed homemakers to press their homemade butter into decorative patterns or shapes, adding an artistic flair to the dining table. Designs included floral motifs, animals, and even family initials, making each pat of butter a personalized masterpiece. Using these molds required a steady hand. Butter was packed into the mold, pressed firmly, and carefully released to preserve the delicate details. They were not only functional, but also a point of pride for families hosting guests. With the rise of industrial dairy production and pre-packaged butter in the 20th century, these molds fell out of use. However, they remain beloved collector's items, cherished for their craftsmanship and as a symbol of a time when even the simplest foods were treated with care and creativity. Hand-powered vacuum cleaners. Before the motorized vacuum revolution, cleaning carpets and floors relied on hand-powered vacuum cleaners. These devices featured a pump or crank mechanism that created suction to pick up dirt and debris. While less effective than modern vacuums, they were a significant upgrade from brooms and dustpans, particularly for removing dirt embedded in rugs. Hand-powered vacuums were lightweight and compact, making them easy to maneuver. Using them was an active process, requiring consistent pumping or cranking. But for households without electricity, they were a practical solution. As electric-powered vacuums became more efficient and accessible in the mid-20th century, hand-powered models became obsolete. Today, they're remembered as a stepping stone in the evolution of household cleaning technology, a glimpse into a time when even cleaning required ingenuity and physical effort. Clothes sprinklers. Before steam irons became the norm, clothes sprinklers were essential for achieving smooth, wrinkle-free fabrics. These simple yet ingenious devices featured a perforated metal or plastic top attached to a glass or ceramic bottle. Users would fill the bottle with water and shake it gently over clothes, evenly dampening them before ironing. Clothes sprinklers added moisture to stubborn wrinkles, making fabrics easier to press. This method was particularly useful for cotton and linen garments, which required a precise amount of dampness to achieve a crisp, polished finish. Some sprinklers were beautifully designed, doubling as decorative items on laundry room shelves. With the advent of steam irons in the mid-20th century, clothes sprinklers fell out of everyday use. However, they remain a nostalgic reminder of the care and precision once involved in household chores, reflecting an era when even ironing was an art form. Collectors and vintage enthusiasts still treasure these charming tools today. These forgotten appliances remind us of a time when ingenuity shaped daily life. Though they've faded, their legacy lives on, sparking nostalgia for the effort and creativity of the past.